Welcome to the channel. Welcome to Banter in the Box, episode 110. Rule changes for next season. Yes, it's an exciting edition of Banter in the Box as I'm going to give you a sneak preview of some of the rule changes that are coming in the 29th season of the Family Fantasy Football League. Not all of them, just some of them. 3 managers went into the transfer market this week. Banter United manager Mark Benwell used the last of his 3 tactical gambits that he won for being the manager of the season last season. And Norfolk and Chance FC manager Angela Addis went into the transfer market for the first time, and she went in big, spending £15 million on tactical gambit. She spent £5 million on a wildcard tactical gambit, which allowed her to make multiple transfers in a single week, and £10 million on a benefit fraudster tactical gambit, which meant for one of her players she acquired the points he had already scored this season. It was strange for Angela, who's been struggling all season, to leave it so late in the season to go into the transfer market for the first time. But in another way, it was a stroke of genius, because last Monday was the final time that you could purchase tactical gambits this season. Angela was the only one who bought a benefit fraudster before that Monday cut-off time. So that means that she's actually in pole position by quite a long way to be in the May manager of the month. Obviously, we've got a lot of the month of May to go. And if English clubs reach European finals, there'll be some points to be scored in June as well. Anyway, in this week's edition of Banter in the Box, we've got your game week 32 winners, 4 winners who will all be picking up one manager of the season point. We've got your game week 32 losers, 4 managers who, if they already had them, would be losing a manager of the season point. I've got 12 years a slave. The date for the FFFL Cup final normally takes place in the first full Premier League fixture weekend in May, which means it would be happening this weekend. But in an elongated season, due to having a World Cup plunked slap bang in the middle of it, we've delayed the FFFL Cup final, and I'll be revealing the date that cup final will be taking place. I've got those rule changes for next season that I mentioned. Another reminder of the date for the FFFL Presentation Awards, and a manager of the season update. Did anyone get those 10 points for the Who the Fuck Is That? All will be revealed later. So your game week 32 winners take a bow, none other than our hosts at the Presentation Awards this season, Norfolk and Chance FC manager Angela Addis. Thanks to that benefit fraudster tactical gambit, Angela climbed up a whole place to 3rd from bottom. And she hasn't been as high as 30th in the table since game week 27. So that was enough to make Angela a weekly winner. Take a bow also. He's had a quiet season. Luck. Where's the K Williams? He climbed 1 place to 22nd this week, which is the highest he's been since game week 18. Take a bow. Banter United manager Mark Benwell. The biggest climbers this week, up 2 places to 12th. And 12th is the highest Mark has been since game week 27. But the biggest game week 32 winner, take a bow. The Mad Hatter squirmed his way to a weekly win with 75 points, taking him up 1 place to 5th. And 5th is the highest he's been since game week, I'm trying to read my handwriting, it's either game week 25 or game week 15. I'm not sure which, but it's been a while since the Mad Hatter has been as high as 5th in the table with his... Well, he shared a weekly win early on in the season with Ostrich Bastards manager Steve Maloney. So it was his 2nd outright weekly win, but the Mad Hatter's actually on 2.5 weekly wins for the season. That prize for the most weekly wins is wide open, by the way. We've got 3 managers sharing it at the moment, all on 3 weekly wins. The Mad Hatter just behind them on 2.5. A few managers on 2. It's anyone's game. So anyway, one manager of the season point to those four. The game week 32 losers, hide your head in shame. No happy endings. Manager Dyer Maloney dropped one place to 23rd this week. And that's the lowest Dyer's been since the 25th of March 2022. Over a year since Dyer's been as low as 23rd. Hide your head in shame for the second week, running better than the Diamonds manager James Holmes. I don't think you are better than the Diamonds, James. Fell one place to 9th. You have to go back to the 29th of October 2021. Over 18 months ago for the last time James was as low as 9th in the table. Hide your head in shame also. Martin Maloney's Coldplay United dropped one place down to 31st in the table. This is Martin's 4th season in the Family Fantasy Football League. He's never, ever been as low as 31st in the table. And the biggest game week 32 loser, hide your head in shame. Great Uncle George Moody, who stayed bottom of the table and were the lowest scorers this week with -2 points scored. And with Angela playing a benefit fraudster tactical gambit this week, George is now cut adrift at the bottom of the Family Fantasy Football League by about, over 400 points from memory. So, they are your game week 32 losers, where they had them one manager of the season point lost. 12 Years a Slave. Great movie, I'm sure you'll all agree. But it's 12 Years a Slave. I'm not here to talk about the movie. I'm here to talk about Greece Lightning manager Alexi Lagos. Because on Monday, he would have been Meghan's slave for 12 years. Yet, their 12th anniversary this Monday. And they're still not engaged. What is going on? Anyway, 2023 FFFL Cup final is between Foxborough Foxes manager Charlotte Williams and Ostrich Bar Stewards manager Steve Maloney. They battled their way through the groups, through the knockout stages, into the Family Fantasy Football League Cup final. We're going to have a new name on the Family Fantasy Football League Cup this season. Neither Charlotte or Steve have won the cup before. Steve has appeared in the final, was beaten. For Charlotte, it's her first final. As I said earlier, the final normally takes place in the first full fixture weekend in May, but we've delayed it because of the extended season, because of the World Cup being plonked in the middle of the season. So I can reveal that the cup final takes place on the weekend between the 12th and 15th of May. Friday the 12th to Monday the 15th of May. That is when the cup final takes place. It's a final that's been billed as Beauty versus the Beast, but I think that's being way too harsh on Charlotte. So, good luck to both of you for that cup final, which will be between the 12th and 15th of May. Rule changes for next season. Now, I thought I'd give you a sneak peek at some of the rule changes that are going to happen next season. Now, tactical gambits have been around for a few years, but this season they've been a bit controversial. Particularly three of them. The Wildcard Tactical Gambit, the Oiti's Mind Tactical Gambit, and the Benefit Fraudster Tactical Gambit. The Benefit Fraudster, especially controversial when earlier on in the season, the defending champion, Hatch United manager Neil Hatch, completely legally and within the rules of the competition, played a masterstroke, spending £37 million on tactical gambits. Two benefit fraudsters, which meant that for two of the players he bought in, he was getting the points that they had already scored. Those were high-scoring players who obviously already belonged to other teams. So Neil spent another £10 million on two Oiti's Mind Tactical Gambits to get those players into his team. Another £5 million on a wildcard tactical gambit, which allowed him to make those two transfers in the same week, as well as some others as well. The upshot of that was that Neil launched from 17th to top of the Family Fantasy Football League table. Full disclosure, I was inspired by that, and a few weeks later I made not as quite as good a one. I didn't quite have the money to spend, but I made a similar. I played purchased a Benefit Fraudster Tactical Gambit, which lifted me from 17th to 3rd. Some managers were quite happy. It was a stroke of genius. I know a lot of managers felt it was a step too far, and weren't really comfortable with it. And certainly when I reflected on it, the objective of the tactical gambits all have a purpose. Okay, so the Benefit Fraudster Tactical Gambit, which allows a manager to acquire the points that a player has already scored. There's a rule in there that says they can only be played purchased by managers in the bottom half of the table. And that's because that tactical gambit was put in there solely for those managers down the bottom of the table who were unlikely to win any prize money but could purchase that tactical gambit to give them a great chance of winning a Manager of the Month at the very least. The Oi is Mine Tactical Gambit was a result of the fact that we got 32 managers in the league and there simply aren't enough players to go around. So I wanted to give, when there were no other options for someone picking up a player that was available, I wanted to give them a way that they could purchase players that already belong to another team, albeit to come at a cost. And the wildcard tactical gambit was in there simply to encourage managers to make transfers or give managers the ability to make transfers without incurring the points cost. So again, it comes with a cost. It costs £5 million, but you can make multiple transfers in a single week and not lose any points for those transfers. So they were the intent of the rule changes, but perfectly legally, managers have found different ways of using them. The purchasing of Benefit Fraudsters might actually mean that managers win significant money this season as a result of playing or purchasing those tactical gambits. I mean, it still takes skill to work out a way of I mean, I think Neil's team's value is like 50 something million pounds to get a team together for that little money. It still takes a certain amount of skill. But the intent was that the Benefit Fraudsters were there for the benefit of the people really struggling down the bottom to maybe win a Manager of the Month, not to help people win big money at the top of the table. The Oi's Mines, people have started using those to block the ability, especially late on in the season. I've noticed people have started purchasing Oi's Mines to try and block the chances of teams just below them overtaking them, which again is perfectly legal and tactical, but I need to kind of address the manager's ability to do that. And the wildcard tactical gambits, some managers have just exploited those by again, perfectly legally and skill to constantly find the cost of the wildcard tactical gambits so that you can keep playing them. But by playing multiple wildcard tactical gambits in a season, that they've hoovered up players that then are not available to anyone else. So that creates a problem. So anyway, waffling on, here are the ways that I'm going to address that next season in the 29th season of the Family Fantasy Football League. Seems weird that we're talking about the 29th season of the Family Fantasy Football League. We've still got a month of this season to go. But I wanted to give you an early heads up. And I'm keen to hear what you think. If you don't think these changes are going far enough, let me know. If you've got any other thoughts on rule changes you'd like to see, let me know. Not promising I'll implement all of them, but more than happy to hear people's views. But these are the changes that are definitely going to happen next season. The cost of the Benefit Fraudster Tactical Gambit will increase to £15 million. This season it was £10 million. That's not simply, I don't think that's enough money. So they've gone up to £15 million next season. No more than one Benefit Fraudster tactical gambit can be played in a single week. Now, that simply means if someone was clever enough to find a way to spend, let's say, £30 million on two tactical gambits, if they could find a way to do that, then there's a very good chance that someone way down in the table very late on in the season could go to the top in one foul swoop. So by restricting the number of benefit fraudsters that can be played in a single season, it limits the chances of someone going from 17th to top. Because if for example Neil Hatch had only been able to play one benefit fraud this season, then he would have gone 17th to somewhere in the top half of the table, and then once in the top half of the table he wouldn't have been able to play the second benefit fraudster, because only teams in the bottom half of the table can use a benefit fraudster. So whereas I'm restricting the number of times benefit fraudster tactical gambits can be used in a single week, so it's kind of a dual braces kind of thing really. By increasing the cost of a benefit fraudster tactical gambit to £15 million, it's unlikely anyone's going to ever be able to afford more than one anyway. But if it's someone that spent all of their season in the bottom half of the table, that money does build up with the £5 million bonuses that you get at the end of each month. So someone could be in a position to be able to afford more than one benefit fraudster, but they're only ever going to be able to play one in a single week. And the chances are playing that one will lift them into the top half of the table, and then they won't be able to springboard to the top by playing a second one. Each manager will only be able to purchase one wildcard tactical gambit in a season. Still going to cost £5 million, but you can only purchase it once. So you've really got to think about when you're going to use that wildcard tactical gambit. You can't just constantly use them throughout the season, hoover up loads of players that are then not available to anyone else. You can only use them once. And each manager will only be able to purchase 3 Oi's Mind tactical gambits in a season. The Oi's Mind tactical gambits, again, are still only going to cost £5 million, but you won't just be able to play them, purchase them all the time. You're going to have to think about when you're going to purchase those Oi's Mind tactical gambits, because you only get to use them 3 times. So you're not completely restricted in terms of there being enough players going around where there genuinely isn't a player you think is worth bringing in. You can use an Oi's Mind tactical gambits to snap up a player that already belongs to another team, but you'll only be able to do that 3 times in the season, and that will restrict the chances of managers just using them to block managers just below them from overtaking. Okay, so they are, I'm not saying these are all the rule changes for next season. I'm still kind of pondering the rules for next season at the moment, but these are 4 rule changes that I've settled on, that I wanted to share with you all. Okay, as I say, let me know what you think. Put it in the Facebook group chat. Get some banter going, see what other people think as well. Any other ideas you've got, drop them into the FFFL Facebook group chat. See what other managers think. More than happy to hear. Not promising that every idea I get I'll take on board, but you never know. You might come up with an idea that I think is really, really good. 2023 FFL Presentation Awards, a reminder that it takes place at the Stadia of Norfolk and Chance FC on Saturday the 8th of July, Southend by the Sea. We are going to the beach for the Presentation Awards. Angela, contractually obliged by Angela to point out every time I confirm the venue, to say that it is at the posh end near Fort Bay, okay, not the rough end of Southend. And it kicks off at 3 p.m. Many thanks to the many of you that have told me whether you are going and whether you are bringing your one permitted guest. There are still an awful lot of managers that haven't told me whether they are going or not. Can you please do so as soon as possible? Because Angela and Dan would like some idea of how many people are descending upon them while they prepare for the big day. Who the fuck is that? 10 points were available And to get those 10 points, you had to tell me which current Family Fantasy Football League manager was pictured there and what part of their anatomy was pictured. You don't get any points for just getting the manager. You don't get any points for just getting the body part. You had to tell me the manager and the body part. And considering this is worth 10 manager of the season points, it's obviously got a lot of you stumped. Only 2 managers had a guess this week. Hatch United manager Neil Hatch thought that was a picture of Sash Hammer's FC manager Wayne Robinson's belly. That's an incorrect answer, Neil. And Benny United manager Mark Benwell, he thought that was a picture of Chairman's Choice's belly. He did apologise. No need to apologise, Mark. That, though, is an incorrect answer, which means the manager of the season table looks like this. The Mad Hatter climbing up to joint 14th for being a Game Week 32 winner. Mark Benwell going clear 10th for being a Game Week 32 winner. And Angela Addis closes the gap on long-time leader Simon Hoxby to just 4 points because she was a Game Week 32 winner. That's the top 15 in the table. The other 17 managers are down in the bottom half of the table in various different positions. And your chance to scramble for late manager of the season points is by telling me which current Family Fantasy Football League manager is pictured there and what part of their anatomy is pictured. And this is worth 12 manager of the season points. And there's only going to be a couple more attempts, assuming no one gets it next week. There's only going to be maybe one other attempt after that to guess. You're running out of time, guys. So can you tell me which current Family Fantasy Football League manager is pictured there and what part of their anatomy is pictured? Remember, only one guess per manager per week. That's it for this episode of Banter in the Box. Take care, everyone. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.